Hello viewers, welcome to Core for Any. If you hear new, hit subscribe buttons and notification bell so you can never miss any our incredible content. Flutter taxi apps inside. Today we need to add here the blocks and blocks flutters library and equalizers library need to add here, and after Firebase authentications verify we need to call on servers API for the login and register. Both API need to calls and need to create only the logins API automatically. If you new user to automatically registers, if you old users need to automatically gets old user data. Like this we need to API calls here. Let's start how to write down. First of all, yesterday we need to one mistakes inside the API post methods inside to write down here the content types need to take some mistakes we need to fix. First of all, this mistakes we need to write here forms application slash x www from URL encodes. We need to use this here content types, otherwise you need to get this here the errors. First of all you need to fix these errors, and then after you need to call here imports here needed library need to here. First of all you need to import here the block library, need to call here blocks and to write down here the versions, then after Flutter blocks and to import here the versions, and after need to add here equalizers. Equalables need to add this here, need this three library and need to import here, and then after need to if you use here the VS Coder editors you need to go inside the extensions and need to import here the block extensions need to install here. These extensions I have already installed. You need to, if not installed, to please installs, and after you need to get here this functionality automatically select here the libs folders and to write down here and to create here the cubics. It will racks and to give this here the names as logins. You need to set this here and to call this here. Now here creates here the two files, logins cubics and login states. You need to create here two files. First of all you need to go inside states and to define here the initialized and to set this here the names as a state, define like this, and now need to define here four states, another need to three states need to add here. First of all need to set here HUD states, need to loading here HUD pinners need to load here, and then after another are need to get here the API response results, need to set here the states API results. Like this states need to calls, and another last state need to declare here, need to copy the states and to paste this here and to write down here error state. This state provide here the errors need to depends. First of all need to write down here the error states inside the value, need to declare here final string and to give this here error message msg. Like this we need to set this here titles, and now need to create here the constructors. We need to define here login error states and to pass this here value this dot error message. Like this we need to call this here and also calls here the semicolons, and we need to copy this override methods. We need to copy here and to paste this here. Now this is the defining here the state, login states are the definings are, and to create here. Let's start and to first of all to write down here the login cubes codings are the set. Before we need to go and to set here the base URLs. We need to set this here. First of all we need to go in upper local machines inside. We need to run here the node servers, need to find out here the IP, because we need to use here the emulators. Maybe you need to assign one command to assign this local host, but we need to not use here this local host in here. That's why I need to use here directly IP. First of all, how can get here this current system IP? Need to open here settings and to go select here the networks, and then after select here or connected network. If you Ethernets and Wi-Fi, need to connect with Ethernets, then to go here and to copy this IP address and to copy here and to paste this here. Also need to cross verify this page URL working or not inside the web browsers. Open here and let's start. How can start this here? Need to paste this here, this URLs, and to check this, and here these node servers are the runs. Now this is our configurations are the done, and now need to codings with the cubics. We need to first of all set here the states, initial states. Need to set this here, and then after need to create here one functions for the submitting the data. Need to write down here the calls, one functions names need to set here, submit login, and we need to set this here the three parameters, user types, string, and to pass this here first of all mobile code, then after give this here comma, pass here string, and to set here the mobiles, and last one is integers. Need to pass this here as a user types. Need to set here string user type. Is this matters for once for the user logins, two for driver logins, four for admins logins. F inside not create here the admin users, that's why I need to here two users, 1 and 2, 1 for user apps and 2 for driver apps. Like this need to create here types. That's inside need to write down here, or API calls before need to write down here the try case need to write here, and need to emit here. If you get inside the catch any errors, then need to write down here logins error states need to calls, and to e dots two strings need to return these errors need to fire here. Then after need to calls here first emits need to set here the HUD loads, that's why need to use here the logins HUD states need to call this here, and after need to calls here the service calls that here, and to call here post static methods need to give this here the parameters need to pass here as a first of all user types parameters need to set this here, need to get above, and to put this here, copy here user types and to paste this here. Then after need to write down here mobile code, and to pass this here mobile codes parameters. Then after we need to set this another parameter mobile numbers. This mobile parameters are the declared here mobile. Then after we need to call here OS types, need to set this here. Need to identify here the platforms. Need to calls platform dot is iOS. Then we need to write down here I colons, need to use ternary operators. Second parts inside we need to write down here platform is Android. Then we need to again need to use ternary operators, need to pass here the small a, otherwise need to div here the webs. After need to pass here the push tokens. Now not integrates any push APIs integration SDK, that's why I need to pass here the blank tokens. After integrate the push notifications, need to pass here the our tokens. Then after need to set here the socket ID for the connects with the current socket ID, need to pass this here connected ID. Need to manage here, and to real times need to pass here the data inside this socket ID, need to call this here. Now not connect any socket, that's why need to pass here the blanks, and after need to path inside need to set this here globes dots, not globes, need to sv e, and to give this here the names service as login service names. Need to path this here, so need to check here this path, go definitions, and to create here the base URLs like this http 192 like this URLs need to set, and after need to /API, and to give this here the logins API need to pass here like this. We need to API calls and set here. Now need to pass here the success parameters, need to call this here success, and to write down here this, and to give this here parameters names as a response object. and to calls here the async methods. If you not write here async, need to get here the errors. First of all, if you fix these errors, need to go inside these blocks, need to go definitions, and to remove this here the features keywords, need to write directly writes here voids methods. Like this, we need to set here, but not use this way. We need to use here the futures methods, because we need to many times use here the since methods. That's why I need to calls here futures voids. Now we need to go against here the cubics class inside go, and we need to set this here the success response. After we need to set here the failed response, we need to print here, need to write down here the fails, and to get here the errors, need to always get here the string value. That's why I need to directly pass inside the emits methods these errors. Need to write calls here the emits, calls here emit, and calls here the login error states. We need to fire ears, and to give this here the errors message, we need to print this here. Like this calls also need to write down here the async methods, and this is the calls here. Now we need to get here successfully response, we need to pass gets. Then after we need to calls here if we need to check response objects, we need colons, and to down here optional value use here t dot payloads. Need to check here the status, as need to set this here as string, question marks, we need to pass this here blank, and equal to 1. Then here the success response returns. Else parts need to get here the errors. Need to fires against emits methods inside the errors to calls logins errors states. Need to calls here the errors, need to response object dots, need to give key dash message, and to print this here the oblique msg tail. Like this we need to calls here, and to write down here the semicolons of the end of the lines. Like this calls here. Now if here gets here successfully, we need to save this data here inside the share preference. First of all, we need to calls here this static inside. We need to initialize here two variables. We need to define here static variables, static map, and to give this here user objects, m is capitals, have objects, and to define here like this. Then after we need to set here static int, and user types we need to give this here past here once for the user logins. Like this we need to define here static variables. Now we need to go inside the cubics, and we need to configure here this value service calls dots. We need to use here user objects. We need to pass this here response object, get this here this, and all here key dot key dots. We need to use here payloads, and we need to pass here maps like this call here. Then after we need to give this here the service calls dot user types. We need to pass this here is equal to, need to give this here, need to use here service call user objects, and to get this here the type, and to check this here integers, as we need to check is integer, and to check not integers need to return here once. Now we need to save inside the share preference. We need to call here the globals methods globs dots use sd set, and we need to save this data service object, and to pass here the key names globs dot user payloads. Then after we need to enable flags for the logins. We need to use here sd bool sets. We need to set here the true for logins. We need to pass here the glob dots user login key, need to set this here, and also emit here the login API results states, need to call this here. Then after emit and to call this here logins and to set here the init states like this. I need to call this here. Here two state change, first one need to pass here the result states, and after again need to reset here the init states. Need to set this here for this class like this. Here creating here the cubic class. Now need to save this here, and then after need to go inside the mains and need to define here the multi block providers. Need to call here methods, need to calls, and to import here multi all these methods, and here this here provider. Need to create here, first of all create here context, then after we need to pass this here value, and we need to set this here value as a login cubic like this. We need to create this class. After we need to set here the childs, need to call of and of these materials, need to assign here the materials class like this. We need to set this here this value, and we need to set here. Now this is the defining here the cubics are callings are the done. Now we need to go inside here OTP view. This is the main parts of the connects with the cubics, this UI. Need to first of all go inside the scaffolds and to find out here body, and to define here block consumers. So need to set this here and to this here name as the cubic login cubic, and then after login get we need to pass this and also need to import here this library Flutter blocks. Now here set here the listeners for the login state listeners. We need to set here if conditions, otherwise you need to set here the if case. Need to pass this here the states. Now we need to check here calls here state equal to is login HUD state, then to calls globes dot HUD methods. We need to show HUD at this calls here. Yesterday we need to create these functions. How can write? If you not see, so please see the yesterday video, and to declare here user loadings need to set this here like this. We need to set else parts, need to write down here else ifs, and again so need to check here the states is login API result states. Then after need to write down here globe dots HUD hide we need to calls, and also need to print here the successfully logins. We need to message, we need to print here, and next video we need to integrate here the how can mute directly inside the new screens. We need to configure inside the next video, not cover inside today, but need to print here today only the success message. Need to copy here and we need to paste this here, and to write down here the API calling done. this need to return, else parts need to get here. If error states need to print here the message of the errors is need to give this here and write down here login error states, check here, then after need to print here the copy this all lines here and to paste this here into this here errors message, and now need to print here error message to calls here state dot error message, need to print this here like this value. Fail. Here. Now we need to calls here the cubics methods. We need to submit forms, submit logins API. We need to calls here the cubic methods. We need to calls. We need to first of all go inside the login view and to declare here one functions. After the verifications, need to cut this here and to write down here one functions and to give this here the functions names, write down here as a submit API data. It and we need to pass this here the value user dot id, need to pass this here like this data, and now need to create this functions here void, copy these functions names and create one parameters, string parameters need to declare here uid, set here, and we need to set this here equals context dot read methods, need to call this here and pass here login cubic, and then after need to call this here the methods submit in, need to pass first of all web dot widgets dot code, then after widget dot number pass this here parameters value, and then after need to pass this types. Now need to set here statically type 2 for the drivers, need to set here and to this here like this. We need to callings here and to save this here, and this are integrations here the cubics implementations inside the OTP view. Let's start and to test this cubics gets any errors or not. Need to check this here. First of all need to go inside the androids and to check here the builds and to compile versions, because my flutters are the last versions. Need to update 3.16.3. we need to upgrade here the compile SDK versions 34, otherwise not working inside these versions. That's why I need to update here these Gradles. Save this here, and now need to call this here and to try to run this API. Also need to set here some breakpoints for the here verification. Submit this value here, set one breakpoints. Others into listening here the state. Here's give this here states, it results and states. Like this, we need to set here the breakpoints, and we need to check this here. Now app debug APK are the builds done, and now need to check this here and to play screens opens. Then after need to select here the language. After need to get starts and to calls here mobiles numbers, we need to add this here. Previous video inside we need to add how can use here the test numbers inside the Firebase. Both inside need to explain in details. If you not see this video, please see this video. After need to call this, check this video. Now we need to click here and to verify this captcha. After we need to get against, we need to here select this here captcha value and to verify. Then after we need to put this here the number 1 2 3 4 5 6 like this. We need to set this here, and now we need to get here the calls here this API. We need to calls cubics methods. And then after need to get here the error states, need to check this here parameters are the push tokens are the missings, need to copy these parameters, need to API get this response and to displaying here this error message. This is the error state are the checking done. Now we need to go and first of all fix this here inside the cubics methods, and we need to pass this here push tokens, need to save this here, and again so need to call this API and to check again. Calls again and successfully sign in, API callings are done and this user are registered, and to return this response here check this here gets here user ID number 5 and to get here user type 2, and also need to get here auth tokens like this value need to get here the response, and this is API calling working goods with the cubics methods. If you like this video, please give the thumbs up. If you're new user, so please subscribe my channels and press the notification bell icon. You can get every new video notifications and awesome content. If you have any question, so please write down in the comment sections. I will help you and sort out your issue. Everyone have a nice day. Goodbye and take care.